Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel Soccer Ranch. Happy New Year to everybody, and I hope that 2025 has started off on a really positive and prosperous note for everybody. Before I start today's discussion, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my channel. I think for those of you that have watched my previous video or videos, I started this channel about probably a week before Christmas. It's a very young, small channel. And I remember just having 5 subscribers on here. But after the few videos were watched, in fact, the last one where I was talking about how I acquired the land in the Eastern Highlands, that seemed to set everything off. And I'm proud to say today I've got about 257 subscribers. For me, that is a lot because I did not think in a month of moons that I would have so many subscribers in that short space of time. So for me, it's a massive achievement and it's a milestone, and I wouldn't have done that without your guys' support. So I just want to say thank you very much for that. It has motivated me to come back and talk about Soccer Ranch and talk about other things around acquiring land and what my experience has been so far. So those of you who haven't subscribed to my channel, it'd be great to have you on board. So please do share this video, subscribe, and then you can be notified of my other videos that I will be posting. So the idea of Soccer Ranch is to chronicle my journey in building the homestead that I hope to build someday. It's at the very early stages, and I'm hoping that when I go home, probably this year, I'll video other things when I'm actually on the ground, when it's being fenced and the borehole gets drilled and so on. That is the first thing I want to do. But today's video, I'm just going to talk about 3 areas of land or property acquisition in Zimbabwe through my experience. And I'm hoping that the things I'll talk about will be able to help someone else navigate their way around these areas of property and land buying, acquisition, etc. So there's 3 things. So I've got 3 pieces of property, so to speak. So there's 2 in Kadoma and there's 1, which is the recent one in the Eastern Highlands. So they're all actually still land except for the first one. So I'll just go through the 3 so I can quickly summarize. I hope I can do this really quickly, so the video is not too long. So many years ago, I've been in the United Kingdom for 24 years, and I remember when I first came and I got my work permit, and I worked a little bit, and I remember finding this property online with some property website, people selling property back home, and I always wanted to buy something, to start somewhere, even no matter how small. And so there was this property that was available in Kadoma. It was in a township. It's in a township. But one thing that attracted me about it was the price. I got that house, the 2-bedroomed house, and it's a corner stand. That was another thing that attracted me to it, because it was a corner stand, which means, as you know, with corner stands, they tend to be a little bit bigger. And so you're able to then extend and expand a little bit more than you would if you were mid-terrace. So, and the other thing was, house was really cheap. I promise you, I bought that house. The selling price for that house was £1,500 at that time. So that was like amazing. I think the person who was selling it was in a rush and just want to get rid of it. So to me, I thought ahead and I thought, you know what, this might be a good investment. Maybe later on, and it's a bargain, I'll be able to extend it and do something nice with it and maybe then sell it on and so forth and so forth. So that's how I got that first one. It's in a township in Kadoma. So I've still got that property. And the process with that was, my brother went to look at it for me because I wasn't in the country at the time. And I went through lawyers. Now I will do everything through lawyers, solicitors, etc., because I like things to be straightforward, legitimate, and on paper. I'm very hot on that. So today's video is going to be talking about the legalities around what you need to be careful about when you're buying property, land, etc. So with that first little house, the 2-bedroomed house, corner stand house in Kadoma, I went through my solicitors. If you want to know more information about really good solicitor, or the ones I use, I'm not going to say them in the video, but if you email me, and I'll put all the details down in the description box below, I'm quite happy to refer you to them, but I obviously can't really mention them by name in this video. So I went through the process with my solicitors, and he is very good. Up until today, he handles all my legal affairs to do with land a lot in Zimbabwe. So the thing that you need to be aware of is the seller pays the capital gains tax, not you, the buyer. I think that's correct. I think he'd actually paid the capital gains tax. There was some talk about that, but he had paid it. So I was quite new to all the stuff and I didn't quite understand what it was. But like I said, it's important that you engage a solicitor who would explain all this other nitty-gritty stuff to you. So obviously I had to have get a conveyancer on board, which is a type of a solicitor who deals with land and property buying and so forth, and transfer of ownership and all the rest of it. So that went quite smoothly. The house was then changed over to me. I actually got property and I put that in my son's name, but I wanted to start him off on something. That was the whole big idea. So I put that in his name. It was very straightforward, and the title deeds were transferred from using my solicitors, obviously, and the seller's solicitors. They were talking to each other, and papers were exchanged and so on. So in the end, I got the title deeds, and these were in my son's name. But I can't emphasize enough how important it is to engage in a solicitor, because if you don't, I promise you, I think that the repercussions of that will be much more expensive. Remember, going cheap can be very expensive. So you might as well invest in a good solicitor so that all your things are hunky-dory and it's all legitimate and hopefully straightforward. So that's how I bought that one. So it was not to build anything at all. It was just a house that was already there, and all I needed were the paperwork. When you get the title deeds, it's very important that you contact the local authority, which is the council, and let them know of change of ownership. That's very important, because they won't know all the goings on about selling your house. But it's important that you then let them know that you are now the legal owner of that property, so they can change their records to your name, so that you'll be responsible for paying the rates and so forth. That's important. Otherwise, their records will still have the seller's name and not yours. So that's something that, again, my solicitor advised me on, and we did that accordingly. So that's house number one. The next property that I got many years later was land, actually. And I'll tell you how I got this piece of land. I like to keep in touch with what's going on at home. So I watch a lot of things online, on YouTube. And some of these comedies and some of these dramas that they have online are actually very good sources of information. It worked that way for me anyway. So I was watching, and I'm going to give a shout out to this group of actors. They are called, oh, the name's just gone in my head now. It'll come to me in, oh yes, Magtom Media. Shout out to Magtom Media, because it is you guys that showcase. They were sponsored by this particular land developer, again in Kadoma. And they're the ones that did a skit, and I happened to watch the skit. And it was to do with stands that were for sale in Blue Ranges in Kadoma at the time. And the land developer was Skyhavest. So I got onto Skyhavest and asked them if they had any more stands left. And they actually had one stand that was left, 800 square meters. And I thought, oh, I think I'll grab that one. It was the only one left. It's such an attractive place because it's a gated community. And the plans are, they've actually opened a school. Again, shout out to Makseth International School that's actually on the grounds of Blue Ranges within that gated community. So all that was really attractive to me, them having school, and then there's going to be a shopping place. I don't know if it's a mall, but it's some sort of shopping place and other amenities within that gated community. So that was really attractive to me. I thought of ahead. It's a really quite a new development, but all the stands I think have been bought, if I'm not mistaken. Skyhavest had one that was left that was quite big, but I wasn't interested in something overly huge. I just wanted something a bit smaller. And with this particular one, they did say to me it's on quite a rocky place, so I just didn't want any bother with that. But Skyhavest, I got to know of them. It's a land developer, and it was through Magtom Media. So thank you guys for advertising that. I managed to get myself a piece of land. So what I've done with that piece of land is the process. So at the time when these stands were being sold, you could pay a huge deposit, and then you'd pay the rest in installments, or you negotiate a deposit with them, and then you can pay the rest in installments. And of course, if you had the money, you could pay it all up front. Now, I paid $12,000. I was just about to say pounds. $12,000 US was what that stand was going for, and I think it's actually increased in value. So I paid £12,000 for that. And I paid a huge sum to start with. And then I think I did about 3 months or so. And then I paid it off because I was really keen on paying it off. So I paid that off. And then I went through my solicitors. Now, before I started giving any money out, I instructed my solicitor to look into this to see whether this land developer was actually legitimate. But you have to be so careful, because not all land developers are legitimate. Some can be land barons in disguise. So you need to do your due diligence and your homework to ensure that the property, land, etc. that you're buying is legitimate. So I went through my solicitors, and the land developer had given me an agreement of sale. And of course, I ran it past my solicitors. I emailed it straight away to them, and they tore it to bits. They crossed out so many things and said, no, this is like this. Not that the developer had done anything dodgy, not at all, but they were looking at it through the lens of the law and the lens of house buying legislation, etc. I sent it back to the land developer, who was absolutely fine with everything, because obviously they were also consulting their solicitors. So long story short, we got the agreement of sale agreed. And I've just written something here on a piece of paper so I don't forget these key areas that you need to know and have that information if you are buying land from a land developer. So this is what my solicitor then asked me for. They said to me, before you sign the agreement of sale and pay them any money, we need the following documents given to us. So I went back to the land developer, Skyhavest, and said to them, please may I have the following documents? And these are what these are. So the first thing you need to submit or to get from the land developer is what we call, and I'll link all these things in the description box below. I'll just list them so you can refer to them or replay this part of the video. So the first thing is, not in any particular order, is a subdivision permit. They need that from the land developer. That's what my solicitors asked for. The other thing is a certificate of compliance. Very important. The other thing is a parent deed of transfer. The next thing is a dispensation certificate. And then you've got what is called a CR14 for Skyhavest Land Development Company. So it's those things that your land developer should really give to you, and your solicitor should be asking you or to see copies of this. So I'll run through those again. Subdivision permit, certificate of compliance, parent deed of transfer, dispensation certificate, and CR14 for Skyhavest Land Development, etc. And another thing that my solicitors also flagged up when it came to the agreement of sale, because the copy that I had been given initially by the land developer was that the agreement was between me and Skyhavest. But my solicitor advised and said, no. That agreement is not between you and the land developer. These are land developers. Your agreement should be between you and the land owner. So that's what then happened. That was a very important key aspect there. And they advised me that that agreement of sale should be signed between yourself and the landowner. So I told this to the land developer, and they were quite happy to go to the landowner, Mr. XXX, and I signed that agreement with him. So after that, after I'd paid off everything, the title deeds were done. I had to also, because I was in the United Kingdom, so Zimra got involved because I had to pay capital gains tax on that piece of land. And the way that it was explained to me is because the sale price of 12,000 US dollars did not include the capital gains tax. So I, being the buyer, had to pay, in addition to that 12,000 US dollars, I had to pay the capital gains tax, which I think, now I need to go and recheck this. If it's incorrect what I'm saying, I will link it in the description box below to say it was this percentage. I think it was 10% of the sale price that I had to pay to Zimra as capital gains tax. I'm sure it was 10%. So I went through that, and Zimra had to call me, a representative from Zimra had to call me over the phone, and they do an interview. So if I was in Zimbabwe, I would have gone to the Zimra office, So they see me, I take my IDs, and they make sure that everything is in order. But because I was in the United Kingdom, they were very efficient. And a representative from Zimra did call me, and I had the interview over the phone. And that's all they wanted to know, that I'm the person who's bought the property, and my address and IDs and everything else. You cannot get the title deeds until you've been cleared by Zimra and also the council, because you start as soon as you've paid up for your land, etc., and the title deeds are being processed. You also need to make sure that you're now open an account with the local authority, the local council, because you will start to need to pay rates, etc., and water and sewage and everything else, which was already in place by the developer. Again, another very important thing, that the developer needs to be very efficient, that the sewage work is in place, lights, whatever, electricity, water, things like that are the basic foundation for everything, because a lot of people start to build right away. So you need those things in place. So anyway, I had the interview with Zimra, and then my the property developer solicitors referred me to their conveyancer. So that's the person that did the conveyancing documents for the title deeds. So those were processed, and those were sent to me via DHL. So I've got them here with me in the United Kingdom, legitimate title deeds from the registrar, and everything is, because I had gone through a similar process with the first property, I was quite aware the process of getting the title deeds, etc. And again, I ran all this past my solicitor. What I actually need to do is to take a photocopy and have it certified and send that, or take it home with me when I go home, so that my solicitor has a copy as well of my title deeds for this land that I bought from the developer. So that's how I processed the second piece, the second project. I haven't started building it. So what I've done and this is a low density area. So what I've done with this property, because I finished paying for it and everything and bought it end of last year. So what I then did towards the end of last year, I have fenced it. And I will also recommend the company that I used. I'll give a shout out to Framans Fencing. They're the ones that did my fencing for me. Again, I will link their details in the description box below. The gentleman's name I'll also put there. Very professional man. They came with all the fencing and everything, came and did the measurements, and they had that fence done in a day. It was done. So that was great, and it was all up. I think I'll see if I can link some pictures at the end of this video. I promise I won't forget to do that this time. I'll try and insert some pictures of how the fencing looks like. And then the next thing I also did after fencing is to drill a borehole. And again, shout out to Magtom Media, because you guys were being sponsored by Hydrotech drillers. Hydrotech drillers, I highly recommend them. They are the guys that drilled my borehole. And again, I'm going to link their details below their name, etc. But it's Hydrotech drillers. Fantastic. And they drilled my borehole. I managed to hit water at 60 meters, and that was fantastic. So that's going to get installed and have solar panels on there, because I think it's important to have your fencing done first and a source of water. Now, there are many other ways you can get water. You can drill a well, or you can have, I think people say you can have these water tanks delivered and you can use that. But I think it's important just to get a good water source supply before you start to build. The next thing I'm going to do is to start getting the brickwork and all the other things that I need to build to foundation. Luckily, the land developer also does provide building material, and they give you a special discount if you have bought land from them. So I'm in consultation with them right now, and that will start hopefully this year. So that's number 2. So we've got the built house in the township in Kadoma. Then I bought the land, all very different, as I've tried to explain. The third bit I've actually talked about in my previous video of the communal land that I managed to get. So do watch that video when I talk about how I came about to get this land and how Sokoranch started. So in that video, I give a little bit more detail as to how I acquired that piece of land. But basically, communal land is very different how you acquire that. You don't own communal land outright. It's never yours. It belongs to the state. And that's very important. So you should never be told that you are given title deeds for communal land. It is owned rightfully and outright by the state. So you can get it apportioned to you through family or historic family tradition, etc., etc. So a lot of people in Zimbabwe have got urban homes, and they've also got rural homes where they say we come from. Yes, so you can get that communal land given to you from family, handed down to you from family, or they can apportion you a piece of land. Or in my case, it was a little different because I was just working with the community and a charity there, and there happened to be a piece of land that someone didn't need anymore, and then the headman, I went through that process, and that was assigned to me. I've also now got a land permit from the Rural District Council in Mutasa. But do watch that video, I explain a bit more. But that's where the difference is when you're buying a house outright in the urban areas, in the city, that is very heavily regulated. So even when you're building, at each stages you build, you're going to have it passed by the council, by the city fathers. When you're buying a house that's already built, again, there's the legalities that you have to process and go through. And I always say go through a solicitor for that. But communal is very different. You're never the owner of that land. They know that you're occupying the land, but there's nothing like title deeds and that sort of thing. With the one I've got in Mutasa, they've started rolling out land permits, but please do not mix up a land permit with a title deeds. It's not the same thing at all. So, and also another thing I need to mention, the land that I acquired in Mutasa, the 2 hectares, the person who had them before, the lady who had it before, she then migrated or immigrated to South Africa, and she's been there for a long time. And so I was in communication with her as well, just through goodwill and that sort of thing. But she had actually established on that piece of land a brick making furnace because she had wanted to build a house there, etc. But because the circumstances changed, and she said, I'm never going to come back to it. So she was more than happy to pass it on to someone else. So when that happens, right, because she had built a brick making furnace on the piece of land, and she'd also started to build this, what she called a kitchen, but she hadn't finished the roof of that kitchen, but it was a structure that was on there. So in those circumstances, you can negotiate with that person to give them a token or something as a means of goodwill that they'd started developing a structure on the land, and they're leaving you with that structure, and they're leaving you with that brick making furnace, which I'm going to make really good use of, because the local brick people can start making my farmhouse bricks for my ranch style house from that. So we negotiated a certain price, and I paid her for that. So I wasn't paying her to buy the land. It was just a token of goodwill to say, you've developed that land to this extent. What would you like for the bricks you used for the kitchen and for the brick making furnace that you're leaving to me? So that's why I paid her a certain amount of money that we agreed, and that was that. But the greater detail was processed by the headman. And it's quite a ritual, actually, that Auntie Gladys, and if you don't know who Auntie Gladys is, please go and watch my other videos about the Chiedza Community Foundation Trust. Then you'll understand who Auntie Gladys is. So Auntie Gladys then went on my behalf to see the headman and do all the rituals of putting money for a plate and money for all these other things that she described to me that were part of the sort of welcome me into the community. And you pay very little amounts of money, like $5 for the plate and $10 for something else and whatever else. And the land permit from the council was actually just $10. So it's not a lot of money with that. Be careful of land barons that tell you that you need to pay thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds for communal land. That should raise really heavy red flags. Just please make sure you check stuff, cross-reference with other people, and ensure that this headman person they're talking about is a legitimate head man or head woman, and not just some dodgy person that's, going around acting as if they are in that position. So that's how I got that land that I have in Zimbabwe. So it's those 3 pieces of land, I'll call it. The first one is a 2-bedroom house in Kadoma in a township, corner stand, that was already built, quite a good built house. It's worth a lot more than £1,500 now. So that has been an incredible investment. I have a tenant living in that property. They don't pay very much. To me, it's like a caretaker that's there just to make sure the house is neat, etc., etc. And whatever he pays is my donation each month to Auntie Gladys's reusable sanitary pad initiative. So that rent from my tenant goes straight to the charity. It's my way of donating each month to that cause that I hold dear to my heart. And the next thing I talked about was the buying land, a stand through a land developer. So I'll link everything or list everything below. And the latest piece of land that I got was in the communal area of Mutasa. And that is the communal land that goes through the headman. And it's not my land. I'm sort of a placeholder for it. But if I then wanted to sign that on to my son, for example, he could carry on with that, and then his son and his son and so forth. The only difference with that is there are no title deeds involved that way. It's just very traditional process that happens with that. So that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. I hope you found this really informative and useful. I will discuss in another video, because I haven't gone home and not much is happening with Soccer Ranch at the moment until I get on the ground or I get my project manager to start fencing and getting the contractor to do the borehole. Then obviously he'll send me videos and pictures, which I'll update you on. But in the meantime, if I think of any information around property, buying land and that sort of thing, and the legalities around it, I will definitely share that with you. So in the next video that I'm going to do, I'm going to be talking about, because there's been people ask me questions like, well, if I'm a foreigner, and I'm not a foreigner, I'm a Zimbabwean national, but also British citizen, so I've got dual. But sometimes people ask me that if I'm from, let's say, Kenya, or I'm from Canada, or I'm from Australia, complete foreigner, can I buy land in Zimbabwe? Or can I start a business in Zimbabwe, buying land and starting something? What are the legalities around that? So I have found a really good, useful source from a legal perspective. So I'm just going to put that together, probably as a PowerPoint presentation. So I can actually be reading off the slides, and then you can get access to those slides and that information. So I always give you information that I have cross-referenced through my legal channels and make sure that it's legitimate, because I work in legal, I've studied law and stuff like that. And I have a great interest in property law in Zimbabwe, because I have bought land. So I've learned a lot from my solicitors. I'm not a qualified lawyer or anything, but I've just studied law, different aspects of it. But I think it's so important that you don't get yourself into a whole kerfuffle with situations where you pay so much of your hard-earned money, and then you find out that you weren't supposed to build on that piece of land, or 10 other people have been sold the same piece of land, and so on. So in my next coming videos, I will discuss what I've researched and found that I think may be useful information that you guys can use and apply if you are interested in building, buying land, and developing stuff like that. And just to say, I have another channel. I just thought I might as well mention it on here. It's to do with the law, becoming a solicitor in the United Kingdom. So if there's anyone out there that's watching my videos that is interested or is going to be moving to the UK at all, and they are a lawyer in Zimbabwe or any other country, I have a lot of information, because I'm also studying to become a qualified lawyer. So that's going to take me a while, because I've got so many things going on. But I did my master's in laws and undergrad in laws, but I still have to go through a process to become signed off as a solicitor. And it's quite a heavy exam in 3 parts. But I discussed that in my other channel, which is called Miss Legal Eagle. Again, I'll put the link below. So any lawyers out there that want to come to the UK and, transition from Zimbabwe to practice law in the UK, there are things that you will need to know, and I do detail that. It's called the SQE program. So a lot of that information is on that channel, Miss Legal Eagle. Again, I'll link it down below. So I thought that might be useful to anyone who's interested. I might as well give my own other channel a shout out. But on this channel, we'll just discuss land and building and that sort of thing. So I hope you've all enjoyed my channel and the information I've given you today. If you have any questions, please do ask me and interact with me in the comment section below, and I'll do my very best to help answer those questions. and please subscribe and share and like, and I will join you in my next video. I will make sure, just now I'm going to attach the fencing that I talked about of the Kadoma property that I bought from the land developers or from the landowner. I'm going to show you that, and I will also show you a little snippet, hopefully I can fit it in, when they drill the borehole and they hit water at 60 meters. I hope you find that informative and useful to watch. So thank you so much, and I hope you all a happy new year, and I'll be seeing you again in the next video, and we'll have another chat about something. I just wanted to say a great shout out to Travel by Nature. These guys have been so wonderful. Please subscribe to their channel. They are the ones that help me generate the followers that I have today. So a big thank you to them. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the clips that I'm about to show you on the drilling, the borehole, the fencing, and the other property in Kadoma. I'll see you all in the next video clip.